Hello and welcome back to AEF TV in association with Engerati. I'm joined now by James Musoni, who's the Minister of Infrastructure for the Republic of Rwanda. So firstly, welcome. And,
Thank you.
And thank you for making the time to be with us. I know you've got a busy schedule, so we do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Just in the interest of time, we're going to go into the first question to you. Just give us an idea of what are the sort of types of opportunities that currently exist for investors within the power sector in Rwanda.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, Rwanda, in the last 10 years, our economy is ranked as one of the fastest growing economies in the world, of an average of 8% per year GDP growth. And Rwanda is also ranked as a top reformer almost by the World Bank, doing a business report. And Rwanda is also ranked as a country where good governance is practiced in terms of efficiency, government efficiency, zero tolerance on corruption, and fast in concluding transactions. So when we talk of Rwanda, you know, this is a friendly to doing business country. Now,
so you've done the work of setting that baseline, that level of expectation, yes, for investors, and that job has been done.
It's been done.
It's now the next phase.
The
right?
next phase,
right.
The regulatory framework, everything. Yeah. Now, for the energy sector, you know, we are now currently. When you look at our immediate targets, because we have our development strategy that goes up to 5 years development strategy that goes up to 2018, but we also have Vision 2020. So all of these put pressure on us because by 2020, Rwanda has to be a middle income country, and we are confident we'll be there. But there are some infrastructure requirements for us to be there, especially in the energy. Now, in the next 3 years, we are required to add to the current installed capacity, at least to add 400 megawatts.
Do you think that is realistic? Because you know, I'm not asking
yes,
that from a
yes.
negative perspective.
Yes.
You know, especially in the power sector, some of these things take time.
Yes.
And sometimes it's quite right to set goals and targets.
Yes.
But you know, you may need to revisit them, especially when they're very ambitious. Do you think that is still
It is
realistic?
achievable.
Yeah.
Because some of the transactions are already about concluded. Others are in the pipeline, but we have also put in place a mechanism of interconnection where you can have power trade where there is a deficit. But certainly that should be a transition for us to have our own power.
So
where
you want to have energy independence as much as
it makes sense to us. So I'm telling you now the pressure we have to deliver on that target, because we might have a transition arrangement of importing, but gradually we have to have that independence. So we have now opportunities in hydropower, because we have hydropower potential in Rwanda. We have methane gas to power opportunities. We have peat to power. We have about 600 megawatts potential for peat power. We have geothermal, and we have also solar energy opportunities.
So you've got a very rich mix of
yes.
power sources.
Yes, yes.
So are you pursuing a sort of blended strategy in terms of the power mix?
Sure, sure. Well, that's what we are trying to do. And that kind of mix is what we are looking for. And even currently, we have almost the same mix. We have hydropower, we have methane power already in our grid. We have peat power coming in this year. But we still have deficiency. That's why we still have even thermal generated power from diesel engines, which is very expensive. So our target is to make sure that we phase out all this and go for clean
So
energy.
you've got a very clear roadmap in terms of what percentage of the fuel sources you'd like to have in your power mix.
Yes.
Can you share that with us at top level? I don't expect you to remember all the detailed numbers, but you know, in an ideal world, how would you like to see it all split up?
Yes, we of course, our preferred energy source is the clean energy.
Right.
The clean energy, renewable energy. So, and this one, we want to have hydro, methane gas, solar dominating, and geothermal. Then peat to power as well coming in.
As more of a base load source?
A base load source, yeah.
So what do you think are, you know, there is one challenge always in terms of creating the generation capacity.
Yes.
But then the other challenge is moving this stuff. You know, so how are you looking at the sort of transmission and distribution challenge?
Yes, yes. You are right. That's a very important point. Actually, when you look at as a government, we've deliberately decided to leave generation to the private sector, because we think that we can strike a good balance with private sector. We have good power purchase agreements, and then we have an obligation as a government to buy from the private sector. And this is why we're saying potential is there for private sector to come and invest in generation. So as a government, we are now concentrating on evacuating this power and take it where it is required. So our resources as a government now are going to focus on the transmission lines and building substations to ensure that this power from independent power producers is evacuated and
in those independent power producer agreements, have you also put in an element of contribution towards the transmission grid? Because obviously all of this needs funding somehow.
Yes.
You know, so how is that working?
At the moment, we are doing it as government, but we are open to even attracting in private sector. For example, currently there is one independent power producer who is negotiating a power purchase agreement. At the same time, has offered to build a transmission line, and we are looking into that. So,
because and these are my words, not yours.
Yes.
You know, it seems to me that it makes somewhat of sense to bundle things into that generation PPP, because that's they're sort of easier transactive models. Whereas when you start privatizing distribution, it becomes a bit harder.
Sure. What we are looking at certainly is affordability of this electricity to the final user. So whatever mix and structure we're putting in place, the ultimate goal is to ensure that this power is affordable and reliable and over time. So whatever kind of mix we'll do in terms of generation, in terms of transmission, that's why initially we're saying let's have most of generation done by private sector, but transporting it done by government
is a government problem.
Yeah,
right?
so that you keep the tariff checked.
And then is the roadmap to then potentially, when you've got a stable network, to potentially privatize elements of the transmission thing further down the road?
Yes, sure. And we even right now we are trying to have some.
Yeah, maybe where it makes sense to accelerate that.
Yes, to accelerate, so that, but the ultimate goal is to keep the tariff reasonable fare, so that the economy is kept competitive.
Well, you know, thank you for that. I think you've kind of walked us through your country's you know, power strategy very eloquently, and we've got an idea of the roadmap. What I'd like to do is just bring it back to where we are. We're here at AEF in Dubai, and what have been some of your experiences here? You know, how have you found the event? Have you had interesting conversations? You know, has this been a good forum for you?
Yes, sure. First of all, I would like to say that I was very much impressed by level of organization I've seen here, facilities put in place for us, but at the same time the turn up, everybody is here. So
they're all here to see you.
it's been really very interesting to everybody wanted to see is here, and very good ideas, innovations. We are learning from each other as some government officials who are here, but at the same time we are engaging with investors, with different technologies. So it has been quite interesting.
And have you had time to talk with your other ministerial colleagues from other countries and just compare notes, you know, in a quiet room somewhere?
we have compared notes. For example, some have done very well in the access. Others have done very well in engaging with the private sector, and actually others were still conservative. Some are still conservative with opening up to private sector, say, to do more of generation, or, you know, so they were trying to learn from us. So how we are doing it.
Because is there that fear there that if we open things up, I don't know where it'll take us?
Yes. So we had enough time to explain how we are doing it, and it was quite exciting. So we've learned from each other, we've compared the notes, and we've also of recent had some delegations coming to Rwanda to learn from us. Some of them have also told us they will be coming.
And you know, this, you know, the beauty of these forums is for people to learn from each other. You know, if there is a message that you'd like to give out, you know, to other countries who are maybe where you were 5 years ago, or whatever, you know, what counsel, what advice would you give?
Yeah, well, the first thing we've learned is infrastructure investment requires a lot of resources, which government alone cannot do. That's one. Secondly, there is a lot of capital out there which has to be tapped into, and the private sector is ready to engage and invest with us. The other point is internally we need to work on reforms, because like in Rwanda we've worked on reforms, not only putting in place one-stop center that deals with investors, but also reformed our energy sector, other companies, and put in place energy company that is run as a private entity, ready to engage with private sector. So all these reforms at regulatory level, at operational level, and at the same time at the engaging with private sector.
And do you feel that you also had to decouple somewhat the regulation from politics and things like that?
Yes. You have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to do that to allow private sector to be comfortable and engage with you. So the other point you have to that you have to share here is again, it's not an easy part to do it. It's better to do in a form of partnership. That's the way to go, because at the end of the day, you need also to ensure that tariffs are affordable, are reasonable, and
but also reflective up the ladder, right?
Sure. That's how it is. So those are some of the lessons we've learned, and I would say that we've seen a very impressive response from the private sector engaging with us, and we're happy with this, and we're looking forward to continued engagement with the private sector to invest in infrastructure programs, the energy sector and beyond, and provide necessary support to the private sector.
Well, thank you very much again for sharing that with us. And at that point, I think we'll leave it, Minister. Thank you for joining us. And thank you as well for watching. This has been another AEF TV interview in association with Anjarati from AEF 2015 in Dubai.
Thank you.